All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular town council meeting for February 22nd, 2016. On the agenda tonight, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then be followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is public comments. Mr. Barrett, do we have a list?
Yes, a little housekeeping before I go make the roll call here. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. This will give everybody a chance that wants to speak. After that's done, if you want to come back, then you may come back after everyone has spoken, and you will have 3 minutes to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Is that clear or good enough?
Good enough.
Carlos, where are you? Come on.
Good evening, council members. My name is Carlos Garrett. I live on Burnham Road here in town. I'm the town tree warden, and just by way of background, I've been a licensed arborist for 28 years. I have served in a number of different roles for the town as chair of the Wetlands Commission, chair of the Plant Conservation and Development Committee, served on the Charter Division Commission, and some others. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet. I'm here tonight to vent a bit, if you will. During the past couple of weeks, there's been a rather rigorous discussion on social media, among other places, regarding some of the town's business as it relates to tree work. And I have to tell you that I take very strong exception to a lot of the comments that were made and a lot of the misinformation that has been put out there, much of which reflects on me personally, I believe. And certainly Public Works has also been a casualty of some of the unfounded accusations that have been made. I've had people call me at home, talking over dinner, are you in on this scam? Other sort of alluding to that there's been some sort of impropriety that's going on with the town tree work. And I want to, just for your sake, I want to try to clarify how tree work has been handled to date in the town. The bid process, one of the biggest points of contention has been the fact that the amount of money the town has expended on tree work has exceeded what the bid numbers were. And I think that has predictably created some idea and an assumption on people's part that we were somehow overbilled for work that was done. And I want to try to take you quickly through the bid process. It's never been intended that the bid numbers were to reflect the total amount of money that the town would spend on tree work. The intention of the bid was to evaluate bidders based on unit pricing that the contractors provide relative to a ratio of the diameter class of trees that, based on the history of tree work that we've done in town, has been the case, and that we could project from that who in fact would be the low-cost provider of our tree services. Total expenditures include not only taking down obviously dead and dangerous trees, which is very difficult to predict, as you might imagine, and getting more difficult, and I'll talk more to that in a minute. Also include road and bridge projects, parks and rec monies, as well as emergency and storm work. Now, that the analogy that I've tried to use to, I think, some success is if the town were to bid out fuel supply, we would be looking for, let's say, prices per gallon on diesel fuel, prices per gallon on heating oil, prices per gallon on gasoline, and probably some hourly rates as it relates to services for, say, burners and things of that nature. Now, what we would, I think, try to do is to look at, well, how much of each fuel type are we going to use such that we could fairly evaluate the total picture and not just a per gallon amount. In other words, if we're going to use 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel and 10,000 gallons of heating oil, we want that reflected in the total bid price. And that was the intent of the way the bid was presented to contractors. Some people have asked, well, why on earth are we contracting this work out? Hopefully that's obvious to most people. It's a very specialized type of work. It requires an expertise and specialized equipment that is very expensive, and it is not something that the town is in a position to provide for itself. Over the years, we've enjoyed very cost-effective tree work. We have some very competent contractors locally. We're very fortunate in that regard. One of the things that was an item of discussion at your last meeting, and I want to clarify a bit, is trees being designated for removal are in fact tagged and numbered. They are also measured. That was a matter of some discussion at 4.5 feet off the ground, diameter of breast height, PBH. That is recorded, and those tags are then turned in by the contractor with their invoicing, such that the invoice reflects the tag specific to the tree and the measurements of that tree. Now there have been, the mayor and I have had some discussion on improvements that can be made to the process. I'm entirely in favor of that. Anything in my mind that can lower costs, lead to more competitive bidding, greater transparency and accountability, I welcome, and I would be very interested in pursuing those efforts. The town does not have a backlog of trees. People have suggested that we're somehow waiting on doing takedowns. That's not something that we do. Trees are looked at within a matter of days when they're reported. As you certainly all can understand, there's a tremendous amount of liability associated with ignoring what might otherwise be a hazard to the public. I do want to bring up, and this is a bit of a sore subject, I was with you, some of you, last fall, and we had a rather lengthy and contentious discussion on my interest in developing an ordinance, a town ordinance, that would deal with private trees that are dangerous to the public, either near public right-of-ways or public property. And I know that that is a very sensitive issue. I understand that, but I do believe it's something that we're going to have to revisit, and I look for your thoughtful support on that issue. One of the last things that I want to mention is that we are on the verge of seeing an infestation of an invasive non-native species of insect called the emerald ash borer. I mentioned it last fall. It will almost certainly devastate all of the ash trees that are not treated in this town. Surrounding towns have had the infestation and have, in most cases where the infestation is complete, have lost all of their ash trees. Ash trees in our town comprise a very significant portion of roadside trees that will impact significantly the budget demand for tree work. So I want you to be prepared for that, and look forward to discussing that with you and the mayor as we go forward. Be pleased to answer the questions if there are any.
This is public comments, sir. Sorry.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Wendy?
Good evening, my name is Wendy Fallenbach, I live at 76 Bonnie Lane. I'm here tonight on behalf of the New Milford grad party for this June 2016. This is a parent-sponsored, substance-free, all-night event to celebrate the milestone achieved by our students. And I just want to make sure that we're formally invited to participate. We have a walkthrough the night of the day of the event, and I hope that we can get council members there. The event takes roughly $20,000 to $25,000 to run, and it's worked on all year round. We're very fortunate to have fundraising and donations, and this will be our 22nd year. So you can look at our website. Please look for our current fundraisers. And we can always use some help in, working the event, decorating the rooms, whatever you can do. But most importantly, we'd also like to make sure that you come and see what we do for our students and all the parents and volunteers. It's very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Anybody else?
My name is Harold Hill. I live at 66 North Road in Milford, Connecticut. The reason I'm here is I recently reviewed a project that Public Works did in 2014. It was the reconstruction of Russell Ridge and Catherine Street. Public Works spent approximately $250,000 reconstructing that road by reclamation. The extensive cracking on the roadway from the pre-construction photos indicates to me that the road base was structurally deficient. And however, absolutely no subsurface investigation or analysis of any of the soil, any test borings, nothing was done. To me, that it's basically the same thing as you know, go in to see your doctor and it says, "Oh, you look peaked. Let's go do open heart surgery." You know, without doing any blood testing, CAT scans, X-rays, anything like that. I do understand soil borings are expensive. They cost upwards of $1,000, $2,000 a piece. However, Public Works does own a mini excavator and can easily do test bits. Sieve analyses cost about $200 a piece. Proctor tests cost about $300. Half a dozen test bits on this project would be peanuts compared to the and would actually give us an idea of what the bearing capacity of the soil is under the pavement, which, if anybody knows anything about roads, pavement is only a small portion of the actual structure. It's what's underneath the pavement that makes the biggest difference on what happens. Anyway, something I suggest, because I've seen we've sold, $15 million worth of bonds recently to do an extensive amount of road work and other projects. I feel we should institute a oversight board to review Public Works projects. And I know there's many residents of New Milford who are civil engineers, people with road, bridge, utility construction experience, and even people with quality assurance, quality control experience. That'd be great for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. Mayor?
Moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of prior minutes. We have the minutes. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the special town council meeting minutes of February 8th, 2016.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Szymanski.
I didn't get a chance to review them, but the minutes say February 9th at the top, but the agenda says the 8th.
Yeah, the agenda is incorrect at this time.
Okay,
All right.
The meeting was changed from the 8th to the 9th.
With that change, anybody else have any suggestions or comments regarding the minutes? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 4 on the agenda is mayor's comments. I just want to note one of the things that's on the agenda tonight will be the artificial turf fields, a recommendation from the committee, and if I don't get the chance to do so later, I'll take this opportunity to thank members of the committee and Chairman Bass and all the people that were here in the audience as well to take the time to discuss an issue, get information regarding the crumb rubber, and coming up with a compromise at last week's committee meeting that I believe is a fair and reasonable compromise considering the financial issues, where we are in the project, and the safety, health, and environmental concerns regarding the crumb rubber. So I wanted to make those comments and make it very clear. And thank you for that. On another note, a little bit lighter, people in the audience and on television might see me on my phone. Mr. Szymanski is sometimes on his iPad. I use my phone for research and to take notes for myself. So lest anybody think that I'm texting or on Facebook or doing anything kind of frivolous, let me just assure everybody that when I'm on my phone during a town council meeting, it's to conduct research, as I'm sure Mr. Szymanski is also doing. So
I thought we were messaging each other.
Exactly. But with that being said, now that would be foiable. We wouldn't want to see that. With that being said, moving on to item agenda number 5 is Parks and Recreation. Subsection A is a discussion and possible action on the request to accept a donation of $100 from Mr. Glenn Miller. The donation will be used for the annual Easter egg hunt for prizes and would be deposited in the revenue accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the accepting the donation from Mr. Miller, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, and thank you, Mr. Miller. Motion carries. Item 6 on the agenda is actually executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? And this is an update on the NMPD officer's contract. Okay, welcome everybody back into the regular town council meeting. There is no action following the executive session. No motions, no action taken. Item 7 on the agenda is artificial turf fields, and we have an update and recommendation regarding infill by the artificial turf construction committee. Is there, Mr. Bass, you can make that report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Luke McCoy, I'm our architectural consultant, is here.
Sure.
He's gonna give us kind of an update.
Thank you, Luke.
And
Long time
prior
no
to
see.
Luke, I'd like to thank Councilman Chamberlain, Councilman Szymanski for attending our meeting, and I just want to thank them for their input as well.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy.
Again, for the record, Luke McCoy, landscape architect with BSC Group, Glastonbury, Connecticut. So I will start as requested. I have a sample from the manufacturer supplier of the approved infill recommendation. So I'll pass this along so everyone can
Encapsulated.
play with it, touch it, see. That is the coated SBR rubber with sand mixture. The change in the design will simply be the replacement of the SBR or recycled rubber with the coated rubber. The turf carpeting portion of the project does not change, nor does the sand that's part of it as well. So you can see it is a green in color. I also provided, and I apologize, it was a lot of information since the last meeting on the research that was done by the subcommittee and put together as was requested on the, at the time, the 3 different infills, the SBR, the TPE, PDM, or the organic. I additionally also updated the chart and passed that along for the information on the coated chrome rubber. The overall, with this product, the performance and safety of the field will remain exactly the same as was the original design. The playability, the ball roll, ball bounce, foot interaction will all be the same with this product. The difference will be because of the nature of the product. It will actually help in the summer, warm, sunny months of lowering the surface temperature on the field. You will not notice a difference in the 67-degree time because it won't. As the air temperature raises, that's where you'll see the difference, the larger delta between the straight black SBR and the coated SBR in that way. Still offers the same. The system will have the 8-year warranty, and we are seeing that this project should be able to be extracted and reused when you do replace the carpeting portion of it as well. So it falls under that same. Additionally, we had spoke about some language from the supplier in regards to a guarantee of it. It was presented at the committee. Unfortunately, the regional representative has been out of town. He had a death in the family. He had to go out, but I have had conversation with him, and he has confirmed that that same language will apply to the coated chrome rubber. I just don't have the formal paperwork, but I do have an email from him that he will supply it as soon as he's back from that. So we would recommend that the formal approval, if voted on tonight, would not be finalized until we have that attached with it. Additionally, just to give you an idea of actual cost, we have received, as requested, we after the last meeting, we asked the contractor for a proposed change order to get a real number to have to present tonight, so that if the infill is approved, we could also look to approve the change order so we can move forward to order. So the change order, including the contractor's overhead and profit, which is allowed by his contract, is $57,000. $772. That is the infill material for both fields, so that's not per field. So it's a little bit lower than some of the numbers we talked on other materials. And again, I also presented information on the technical information on that product to you. So I know it was buried in that almost 1,000 pages, but hopefully you all saw the information on the product. Proprietary name is actually Cool Fill, which is what's provided by the current supplier that's under contract. We in the industry refer to it as coated chrome rubber so that we're unbiased. The information you had is actually from the contractor under contract. So with that, I welcome any questions.
Sure, Mr. Bear.
Here's my question again. I've asked this several times. Where is the crumb rubber coming from?
The crumb rubber is actually coming from the exact same place it was previously. It's actually the same supplier. Theirs is CMR, which is New York. Is that CRM? CRM. It will.
It's produced here in America,
And
in the United States of America, the Western Hemisphere, this side of the globe.
Yes.
It doesn't come from Timbuktu, China. Okay. Who's going to encapsulate it?
They actually do. That's part of, they
The
sell.
same outfit that produces it here is going to encapsulate it. What about the water main? Are we going to place this field on top of the water main?
So that is the next item that is being discussed. For the last meeting, we wrote a proposal which would do a conceptual design for relocation, which would allow us to then meet with and price out the potential for relocating it with Aquarian. We presented a proposal to the committee, which was, I believe, passed along for $3,000 to do the conceptual design. Beginning meetings with them, it would give us a basic layout and be able to then build a cost. If it's then approved, then we go into full design working with Aquarium, or the town may choose to do it for the public works. But that was to get us to a point where we could actually sit with them, have a layout where we anticipate it would go, and then work through actual pricing now.
The other field, is there a sewer line problem?
No, sewers, they're 8 feet
Okay.
into the ground.
Okay.
Well,
You know, I was certainly in favor of the project, and sitting on the bubble, if you did not come back with this compromise, let me be frank, I would have voted no. I can live with this compromise. You know, we constantly talk about health, safety, impact on the environment, but we're talking about kids. Kids got a long way to go. So health and safety it's a commodity. It's a quality commodity. And let me be frank. I'm happy for the compromise, and I can live with it.
Mary Jane.
A couple questions. But first I want to say thank you to the committee, and it was good to be there the other night and, you know, hear all the pros and cons. And I mean, it's a big decision, and even though I definitely would still be in favor of an organic fill, I think in view of all the circumstances, this was probably the best way to go. But I think it remains incumbent on all of us to be very vigilant over the next few years. Keep watching the studies and the information that's coming out, and keep the public apprised, and obviously if there's a problem, we will do something about it. And my other thought was on the pipe. Do we have to do the pipe? Do we not have to do the pipe? I don't think anybody's actually answered that question. I mean, is it really critical that we do the pipe? Does anybody have any information that says, yes, we have to do it, or what? I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, and so that was discussed a little bit last time, kind of back and forth. That there is no issue with the current pipe there. We sometimes, for lack of better terms, call it a belt and suspender approach. So it's designed to have the belt on it, you know, so the pants don't fall down. What we're looking at is relocating, moving it out, which is the suspenders. It's the second kind of option. Really, you can't have a problem by moving it completely out. What we they talked about as a simple is we could look at that valve that was fixed, relocating that further down so it's not under, but you could, for all intents, leave the pipe there, which was our original recommendation by looking at it. It's been there, it was built over the first time. It does not appear to be susceptible to, but again, you just never know when something can happen with a pipe. So this would be to ensure that if there is ever a problem, it's not under the field. And that would be the reason for doing it. So it's not because you have to, it's more that there is some money currently still in the contingency that would allow this to be done. And really we're doing the due diligence to leave the decision up to the group here as to whether you feel you want to spend the money to do it as a precaution for future potential for a problem, or keep it where it is. And you know, there's no guarantee. As was discussed last time, these lines are run under highways, under roadways, sometimes under buildings, just because of where they are. It's fairly consistent that a lot of times they are prior to a project, and everything is built over top.
And in terms of timing, you could decide next week, next month, 2 months. If it decides to move it, it's not something that needs to be decided, you know, before you put the field in. So we've got a little kind of leeway to kind of discuss it. Fair to say?
Yes, and most what we're seeing, probably because it's an aquarium water line, it will have to be a contractor that is certified by them, which means it would not be most likely done as a change order to HI Stone anyway. It would be designed and put through, and then aquarium will have the decision as to whether it's HI Stone or someone else, whoever's approved by them to do the work.
Okay, Ms. Francis?
Oh, is the, thanks to everybody, and you too. Is the maintenance the same for the encapsulated?
Yeah.
Okay. And my only comment is I'm very happy with this compromise, and this sounds, you know, to be a healthier alternative. But I do want to say that I had a very big exception I took to the fact that the existing fields were not maintained for all the years since they were put in. They weren't maintained properly. I'm not saying never, but they ultimately ended up in such a state that kids didn't want to play on them. We all heard about it over and over. And I just feel that knowing enough about what's involved in the maintenance, while it is not overly difficult, it is important that it is consistent and that it's done in the way that we are explained and trained. So I would just hope that on our side, that we and our crews, whoever is charged with taking care of these fields, understands that it really needs to last and be handled in a reasonably perfect way. So.
And Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do understand that once the building committee is done, there will be a separate committee that will be formed to take
Recommendations
over,
we're talking about before we come here and
Oh,
ask
good.
for
oversee maintenance and
oversight.
watch.
And someone
everything.
will oversee either from your group or some group will make sure that, you know, so the fox not watching the hen house, so to speak. I have no complaints with the maintenance people themselves. It's just this is something brand new, and I think we do have turnover, and I think it's important that we have the
And
right
I'm sure
equipment.
probably at large, who will use the field, they'll let you know if there's a.
Yeah, but you know, it's always
Spec
nice
on
to
the
kind of
ground.
be there before somebody tells you
What
there's
is
a
it?
problem, so, but thank you very
Fair
much.
enough.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Thank you. I certainly echo Mr. Bayer's sentiments that I had an awful lot of trepidation about the health impact of the initially proposed crumb rubber infill. And I would have had a great deal of trouble accepting the program as it was initially presented. However, given the totality of the circumstances, and though I would have preferred a natural infill, I also understand that we live in a world of political realities, we live in a world of economic realities, and we live in a world of practical realities. And the fact that the coated product has some significant health and safety benefits in that it is potentially less toxic, potentially less likely to cause heat injuries to the players that play on it. It's aesthetically more pleasing. It has a higher shock absorption value. and the increase in cost by the use of this product is reasonably nominal. I think that given all of the circumstances, that I can support the compromise that the turf field committee hammered out. As far as the issue as to the water main, I think that it's incumbent on us to deal with that issue and to deal with it now. In fact, I feel very strongly that we need to get the water main moved before the field is turned over to the town. The reason being that we have a $4 million project here, and it may well be that, like some of the water pipes under the city of New York, it could last 150 years. Or it could be springing leaks in 50 hours. We don't know. The only way we have of guaranteeing that that will not be an issue is to relocate it. And in my mind, a cost-benefit analysis of anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 to relocate that pipe is just a reasonably prudent step to take given the value of the asset that we're protecting. So I would strongly urge that not only do we do the study, but we relocate the darn pipe, because that's some pretty fancy grass we have there.
Mr. Szymanski, did you have anything?
Yeah, just to be clear, the fields are not getting turned over to the town, right? Board of Ed is.
Board of Ed.
Okay, just to clarify.
Okay. Very briefly, this is a compromise at the end of the day, and it's the 11th hour, and yeah, in a perfect world, I think organics would be ideal, but we don't live in a perfect world. We live in the world that we live in, and I'm very happy with the compromise. And like I said before, I know it was difficult for the committee to kind of step back after they put 2 years into this project and kind of reevaluate this issue that they had believed had been put to rest. And I know it wasn't easy for them, but I think it was important, and they recognized the importance. And the conversation that we had at our at the turf field committee meeting where we discussed this really showed that we can listen to each other and we can work together and we can come together with a reasonable compromise that benefits the whole town. So again, I'm happy that we've reached this compromise. It adds a level of security for children, and I think frankly it is a better product because it does address those heat issues that the crumb rubber was going to have anyway. So I'm happy with the compromise, and there is a change order that has been submitted by BSC, and following our discussion, I'll entertain a motion from the town council to execute that change order for $57,772.
So moved.
Second.
If we could just make sure that the change order was submitted by H.I. Stone, the general contractor. We have reviewed it and feel that the numbers are in conformance with what we typically will see. So the change order for the infill actually comes from H.I. Stone.
Okay.
Is there a copy of that existent now, or?
The
change order?
Yes.
We do have a copy, and I think Robin has some if you
What I was going to suggest is I would offer as a friendly amendment that we base the approval of the change order as written.
So Pete, could you just repeat that motion so we have it in town
Sure.
instead of
I
just
mean,
so moving it?
Sure. I'll make the motion that we propose the purchasing authority, correct?
No, it's not even the purchasing authority. It would just be the mayor's office that would
Mayor's
execute.
office to
change order
change order number 3
from H.I. Stone.
from H.I. Stone for $57,772.
Subject to the guarantee.
Yes.
Subject to the guarantee.
Any further discussion, or what does that have to be seconded?
Second.
Oh, I did say.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. And As far as the water main, I don't think this needs to be made by motion, but I will execute the addendum to basically hire BSC Group for $3,000 to prepare the conceptual design so that a presentation can be made to the town council as to whether or not they want to authorize moving the water main or keeping it in place. But from what I understand, that conceptual design is necessary in order to get cost-benefit analysis. So I will execute that, and I'll get that to you, Luke, tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any further discussion regarding the artificial turf fields?
I have none. We're continuing on schedule. Been a little bit slow with the weather, but this week warmed up again, so he's still kind of plugging along slowly, more than we thought would be this time of year. So that's all I have at this point.
Very good.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
The chair,
Thank you.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.